actress, a fashion designer and a loose woman. And she just happens to be married to a certain Mr. Robbie Williams. After 5 years away, she's back. It's Ida Field-Williams, Straight back in at it. Deep end stuff, Ida. That's just what it is.
What is that?
5 years.
Half a decade.
We have a lot to catch up on, and we intend to try and do so in the next hour, including this headline from late last year. Sorry, Ida, you know you're back on Loose Women, don't you? But is it okay if wild nights of passion are replaced with kisses and cuddles and a good book set?
Oh. Dawn thinks not. She's like,
Well, we're going to have our say on that and talking bedtime stories of a slightly different kind. Being a dad and his BFF Alison, Dermot O'Leary is here. Are they looking after you back there, Dermot? Do we have our tea and coffee at the right temperatures?
I'm literally on my own. I've got like plasticky flowers and there's a nice sink over here.
Right.
Look. Very nice.
See, yeah, thank you.
Wonderful.
Just because they have real flowers on this morning. Also coming up.
The eyes. You can see the eyes, right?
What am I seeing?
Trauma.
Well, in his recent documentary, Robbie laid bare some of his toughest times, crediting Ida with saving his life. But how do you rescue someone in their darkest hour? Talking all about all of those things later. But first, Ida, a proper hello and welcome. It's so lovely just to have you back in the fold.
Do you know, it felt like it was the weirdest thing when I came into work today, because it felt like it was just yesterday, so it was just really crazy to me that it's been 5 years. It just felt like where we've all been.
Yeah.
It was so lovely. Right back in the slot.
We've had such a great morning, haven't we?
We have.
We've all got sore throats from talking so much.
Never shut up. Exactly. And we're bad already, but it was like new level stuff.
I'm not sure we actually accomplished anything in the meeting.
In the meeting, because we just kept going, but we can't say this on the telly.
There was a lot of suggest in this room, I tell you. Just in this room, right here.
Just here. You're amongst friends, of course, Ida. It's so good to have you back. Like we say, we have lots to catch up on. But we're going to head to what was the news yesterday, scenes of chaos. I'm sure you all saw it. After 2 household cavalry horses threw off their riders and raced through London following a military exercise. 7 horses were spooked by the sound of falling concrete. 4 ran through the city, colliding with vehicles, including a double-decker bus and a taxi. There are now calls for service horses to be taken out of action altogether. I mean, I found it really difficult watching it yesterday, and particularly there was one horse and it had obviously cut itself and there was blood and it was a white horse. It was a really kind of vivid image. And you think, oh, these poor animals, they got spooked. That's what happens. It's an animal and it doesn't know what's, the surroundings, but they're so well trained, and this is not something that we see every day, thankfully. It was just a bit of a freak accident, but really awful to see. They actually blurred it out in a lot of the news coverage yesterday because it was an awful thing to see. But lots of people calling for these horses to this shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't be in this position. But it's a tough thing to say. I mean, you see them in all of our pageantry and the coronations and all of these things. You think, gosh, what magnificent, beautifully trained animals. And you can't help but admire what it is. But then on the flip side of that, you think, is there any cruelty here? Do you feel sorry for the animals? Like, where do we stand on it?
I think what you've just covered is that, something like that happens yesterday, which is awful, and it was upsetting for us all to see. But it doesn't happen all the time. So to suddenly be calling for a ban for service animals, to me, is a little bit drastic. It was something awful that happened, that they're incredibly well trained. Years ago, I was doing some lifestyle show for Tyne Tees, when Tyne Tees used to be around in Newcastle. And I got invited to go to where they kept the police horses. And they were so incredibly well cared for. They were so incredibly loved. And that is, in a way, their job. I know you could say, oh, they don't put themselves in a position to choose, of course, but they actually have a great life. And police horses are a massive deterrent. I mean, I know these weren't police horses, these were pageantry horses, but I'm talking about service horses generally. I think certainly within the police force, they are definitely required and very rarely get seriously injured. From a pageantry point of view, I mean, you know, again, I just know how wonderfully looked after they are. But it is upsetting to see, and luckily it's a rare occasion.
Yeah. It's like you say, they definitely... they do a very worthy job when, you know, there's high volumes of people at some form of protest or riot, and you see the horses coming in. It feels like, oh gosh, this is scary now. This means there's trouble, and the horses and the police officers kind of work together to try and control things. They're huge, intimidating animals, but equally so. I love my animals, so I always have that feeling of like, oh, I don't want them getting hurt. I don't want them being in the middle of the riot, you know? Yeah. It's a really difficult thing, but equally so, I love seeing them when they're out on the roads here and they're dressed up with the pageantry. There's something that's very British about it, I suppose.
Well, I mean, I'm like you, I'm such an animal. I mean, I've got 8 dogs, 2 cats.
8 now?
I've also got Rob. I don't know what but I mean, I'm a person that like can't even watch a film where something happens to an animal in it.
Same.
You know, so
terrible.
to see that footage yesterday was just devastating. You know, but then I listened to what you're saying, and there is such a space for these animals where they're doing really important things and crowd control. And you know, you see an officer on a horse, it's a different story than just an officer on the ground, and they do such important work. But it was just, God, it was so upsetting to see yesterday.
I know, and sometimes people aren't as affected of seeing things that happen to people. With animals, I would always be a people first, even though I love animals as well. But as I say, I think they are looked after. What do you think?
Well, I just, it wasn't really until he was saying, but I suppose they're so powerful and so scary in a riot situation, aren't they? That you don't ever really think about how scared they might be because they always look so in control, I suppose. But it's a good point. You think, they're going into those riots. They're going to have fear. Like the police. I mean, what would be the alternative, I suppose? I don't know. They do a great job in that situation. But I thought it was a spoof. It was so shocking when I saw that video. I thought it was a spoof. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. We asked you, is it time to stop using horses in the forces? And 71% of you said no. No, it's not. 29% said yes. But majority of people are going, no, look, it was a freak accident.
It was a one-off,
And let's hopefully just place it there.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Now, it's around a year ago to the day that we debated a front-page headline regarding a certain Mr. and Mrs. Williams' bedroom habits. Or should I say, lack of.
Well, front page news this morning, Robbie Williams and former Loose Women wife Ida have given up on intimacy in the bedroom, if you know what I'm saying, with the singer admitting he would rather cuddle instead. So, how important is intimacy in the bedroom in a relationship?
Ida.
Oh, Robbie Williams, how have you done? Do you know, I didn't even know that it had been a topic on the show, although I did know it was quite a topic, but I was like, Rob, what have you gone and done? But, yes.
So it was his word, it wasn't your word.
Well, no, to be fair, I have sticky fingers in this too, because I had done...
Oh, OK. Things are not that
bad. Ladies, calm down, you know we don't do it. No. I mean, God, where do I go from... I could just see clickbait. No,
What was the context in which they asked him about it?
Well, I think it was in reference to a podcast I had done where I was just joking because of the 4 kids. It was like a mom's podcast.
What mum doesn't say that?
And I was just kind of joking, it's kind of more like a wee workspace, the bed. You know, we're kind of like sharing it, you know, hey, nice to see you. And then I guess because that made headlines and they asked Rob about it, and then Rob decided to go further into detail, as he does. And
Is it true, though?
Well, listen. Thank you, Denise, for asking. Listen, we do have sex, okay? That has... Thank you.
It's just good to confirm.
It does happen. It does happen. There is a thing that happens. But it's not like, you know, I was watching... It was COVID times, and I was watching Bridgerton. And Right, right.
You're not in the fireplace then.
No. And there was that moment, by the way, Rob, we both had COVID. So Rob was like quarantining away from me. I was quarantining away. I had this program to watch. And there was the scenes where she's like up a ladder in the library and then they're in grass and it's happening. And I had that moment where I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna do it up a ladder or in the grass. And if it happened in the grass, I'd have to move all the dog poop over to go do it in the grass. So, you know.
Which is the perfect way to put it. When you're up until you have kids and you have dogs and all of this, all you do is think about sex. And then when you've got all those other responsibilities, you might have a bit of an idea of it, and then 20 other things.
There are thoughts. There are toys and thoughts.
It's like one friend, it's like one of my friends, she says, oh, God, I might have to get more than one leg out of my pyjama bottoms.
Do you know what, by the way, I didn't even say this in the meeting, but Rob referred to my pajamas as chastity pajamas.
Yes.
I was like, these are liberty
I don't mind. I'll have it as regular as you like, as long as I don't have to move. If I can just stay still.
Yeah. I like it.
If I can just stay still, then I'm fine. But I think that when most people talk about what they've lost in a relationship, which luckily and usually all four of us are not in that situation for once on the panel, but when people talk about what they've lost, it's more about the fact that their partner isn't hugging them anymore, isn't telling them how special they are, isn't doing lovely, caring things for them anymore. And I think that if two people, if one obviously wants it more than the other, Frank, then there you go.
Denise is wild today.
Crazy today. but I know what you're saying. Intimacy isn't sex, which is what I wanted to touch on.
Not only
and if both of you don't want it, then it's totally fine.
Listen, we still want it, but you know, we're incredibly, I would say the intimacy in our Frank, now I've got visuals of Frank. I would say that our intimacy is way higher than it was before, because we're constantly touching and cuddling, and he says, I love you 20 times a day, and we call each other and say,
That's what I love in my marriage.
Like before we came on just now, he just said, I love you so much, you're the prize. You know, like that to me, we are connected to the core.
Getting a little text just to say, I can't tell you how much I love you, means the world to me.
Yeah.
Don't settle for less than that.
There you go.
You might have to after what you've just said about him. You don't want to move.
As long as she doesn't have to
I
move.
enjoy it. I just don't want to wriggle about.
Still to come to bring a bit of cleanliness to proceedings. Dermot O'Leary will be here, everybody. And can a love be so strong that existed in a previous life? Actress Juliette Mills believes so. We're talking soulmates at first sight, and Ida will be revealing the extraordinary story of the first time she laid eyes on Robbie. All of that still to come. Don't go anywhere. Hello again, welcome back. Still to come, it was the toughest moment of Robbie's career, and Ida reveals the trauma she went through watching her husband's darkest moments for the first time, as we ask who cares for those giving the care. That's a big chat at 1 o'clock. All that and lots to come after the competition. Jeff has all the details.
Hello, you lovely lot. It's time for the ultimate summer bonus. We're giving you the chance to win an incredible £10,000 every month for 6 months. Let me repeat that. A terrific £10,000 a month in extra cash will be transferred into your account every month for 6 months. Amazing, I know. But what's it like to win big with ITV?
It was amazing. I was in total disbelief. Couldn't believe what was going on. But yeah, totally exciting. It gives us the comfort as we move forward and be able to pay off some of the mortgage, buy a new car and treat the kids.
Remember, we have a guaranteed winner for each of our competitions, and you really could win £10,000 a month for 6 months. Get those entries in now for your chance to win. Text WIN to 86060. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY17 PO Box 7558 Derby DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday 17th of May at 3 p.m. Good luck.
Good luck with that. Now, actress Juliet Mills says her full-blown romance with husband Maxwell Caulfield began the instant they met. In fact, their connection was so strong that she believes they'd already met in a previous life. So do you believe you can find your soulmate at first sight? Do you think that exists, Denise? You see someone across the room and go, that's it, there's a connection, that's my person.
I was very drunk.
I was going all romantic and deep.
So everything was sort of spinning. Funnily enough, I've got me vertigo today, so I feel like the same thing. Lincoln and I met in a nightclub at 6 in the morning that doesn't open till 4. So we had this romantic notion that our eyes had met across a crowded dance floor and we gravitated towards each other until the person who introduced us said, no, you were the only two left in the place. There was no one else to get off with. Having said that, there was a definite connection because I woke up with him the next day. Yeah, God, our poor families. 25 years of this they've had of this show. I know. But we then, we were a little bit of a, you know, a now and again call to each other in those days.
Friends of the night.
Friends of the night. Until we became a friend of the day. Ooh. And we had a lunch and we realised that there was much, much more of a connection there. And it was the fact that when you know that you've met your soulmate is that you both get sober for each other. And we did that 12 years ago because of the fear of losing each other. So I don't believe in thank you. I love Juliet and Maxwell because they were one of the first age gap loves. I think it's amazing. But I'm not a believer of reincarnation, so I don't believe that. But, you know, whether or not it's a soulmate.
It's like, I think it's so rare for two people to get sober together. It's so, so rare, I can't tell you. And I think the fact that you were, even if there was nobody else in the club, I think that was for a reason.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that you were meant to be together,
Absolutely.
100%.
And what you've done
really
since
do.
then,
I couldn't be happier than I am.
Yeah.
Ida, what about you?
But, you know, to be honest, Rob and I were set up on a blind date. And when we first met each other, we did not like each other. We were like, I came in the house, it was really dark. It was really weird.
What, no lights on?
There were like no lights. Like literally, there wasn't even like a candle. I was like, is this to save on the bill? Is this a personal choice? What's happening here? Even the dog was like, I'm like, I know, it's dark. So I came in, and I think it was just super awkward between us. And I think we both decided, this isn't gonna work. And my friends called me, they said, do you wanna come back to the party? I said, do you wanna go back to the party? He said, yes. Now, I didn't know he was planning on ditching me at the party. And I was just happy to be with humans and some electricity. So we get back into the car, and I think because we had already just assumed we weren't each other's person, we chilled out, and we just started to talk in the car.
The real you were, sort of revealing your real self.
The real me was already awesome. His just needed to go. We both just started to laugh, and I was like, he's really funny. And I think he went, oh, she's a bit of fun. Yeah. And so by the time we got to the party, we were really relaxed with each other. And then we got to this very kind of strange party, and it was, you know, there weren't that many people, and we decided to sit on a couch, and we started talking. And I swear to God, there was this moment when he was talking to me, we were kind of leaning in because the music was playing, and it was like a true universe moment where it just went, and in a moment, it was like, I totally understood who he was, and he totally understood who I was. It was more than just knowing him my whole life. It was like I understood the essence of him, and he understood me. And it was just a moment. And honestly, if it hadn't been so cringy, I would have gone, did you feel that? But even someone who's not great at dating knows you don't do that. So I actually just kept it to myself, you know, thinking, and, you know, honestly, I think it's what got me through so many of these hurdles with him is that this is my person.
You've still got that feeling?
I still have that feeling. And there was a moment, I remember, early doors in our relationship, and he wasn't that well, and he was talking to me, and he was on the bed, and I was kind of down below. And I think he was probably saying to me, oh, I could never be in a monogamous relationship. I could never get married. I could never have kids. And as he's talking to me, I just saw like a cartoon with stars. I just saw a red flag dancing over his head. Literally, he was talking and just flags. And I just thought, oh, God, why does this have to be my person? I just love him so much. So I think I'm just tethered to him. We're tethered to each other.
That's exactly what it was meant to be. And again, it's that soulmate thing we talk about.
And by the way, a year later, he was telling the story to someone. He said, and then there was this moment on the couch. And I was like, you
I
felt
love
it.
that.
Oh,
he
was
had
a
it
thing.
as well.
He had
You
it
never
too.
said it because you were scared of the cringe, possible cringe, but there was...
Yes,
You
he
both
had
thought
it.
it was real.
It was
it
real.
exists,
I love that.
and it gives everyone hope. I love that story. Very, very nice. And here you are, all these
And here
years
we are.
later. Still
Talking about no sex.
Yeah. Good cuddles. He's our favourite dancer, and we just love watching his moves on social media. Look at him, he's a natural. Dermot O'Leary will be live at 1:15.
The news came in that a woman had been killed.
In 1999, Jenny Bond had to break the shocking news to the nation that her colleague and friend Jill Dando had been murdered. Now she joins Loose Women exclusively to pay tribute to her friend 25 years on. Jenny Bond, tomorrow, 12:30 on Loose Women.
Welcome back to your Thursday Loose Women, and getting loose and lively this lunchtime alongside me, Christine Lampard. It's Denise Welsh, Nadia Sawalha, and Ida Phillips.
I was on the wrong camera. I just did a pathetic little thing like that.
There you go, over there.
Nana over there.
Nana. Still to come.
God.
Oh my God, I'm so... Are you actually joking, Dee?
He calls it one of his most nerve-wracking moments on the telly. He's very good. Dermot reveals what happened between him and Alison when the cameras stopped rolling after that April Fool's prank. Now, late last year, Robbie Williams laid bare some of the darkest times in his life in a documentary series, talking openly about his addiction to drugs and alcohol and his lifelong battle with depression. Robbie described watching back the moment he had a panic attack live on stage as traumatic.
Look at the eyes. You can see the eyes, right?
What am I seeing?
Trauma.
So here's the situation. Last night was an absolute disaster for me. I developed a panic attack before I went on that didn't finish all the way through the performance. I came off of the encore and I never wanted to go back on stage ever again.
Goodness, I haven't watched it, and that's a couple of times I've seen it. I find it really tough to watch, so I can see and understand completely why you do, because you live this, you live those moments with him, and watching it back there again, it's obviously still very emotional for you.
It's super upsetting. We were talking about this because I didn't see the documentary till the week before it was out, so I hadn't really seen any of the footage, and you know. Obviously, we've been together almost 18 years. I've heard all these stories, different stories, and they're painful stories. But for something to be a story that you've heard and for you to kind of visualize it, and then for you to actually watch it in real time unfold and to see, you know, the person you love the most in this world, to watch their trauma. It's like watching the cuts happen, and to see his pain and to not be able to jump in and fix it, to save him, to protect him, is so upsetting. It's weird. It's obviously in the past, but you're watching it, and it's, you know, you're watching someone experience deep pain, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it becomes incredibly vivid when you see it play out. It's so bizarre to watch a story that you know from the past be the real thing, and I, you know, on so many levels felt. I mean, I think after I watched the documentary, I felt like I'd been emotionally hit by a bus. I just didn't. There was so much to process, and it gave me an even deeper understanding of his pain and his story and where he's come from and where his battles have been. You know, I'm incredibly proud of the man he is today, and I'm incredibly proud of his recovery and the way he has navigated some of this. But it is so hard for me to watch that. You know, when I saw those eyes at Leeds when he's looking up, and you know, and everyone's there so excited and so happy, and you know someone is suffering. It is so hard, and he was just so young too, you know?
And I suppose there's just no room made, is there? Because addiction is a horrendous thing, but you're supposed to be enjoying every single moment because you've got this money, you've got this crowd, but anyone can see the pain there. And I was just trying to imagine, if we think about, because it's Mark, my husband, as you know, has been sober 20 years, and I know a lot of the traumatic events in his life. And I'm just trying to imagine if I actually then saw it, it played out like that. I don't know how I could bear it. And you will know as well as I do about rescuing, and within the addiction world, there's usually somebody that will be rescuing that person. And I don't know, has that been a difficult thing for you to come to terms with? Because at the beginning of Mark's recovery, I was told, you know, you're a rescuer, you're both codependent. And I kept trying to change it. But actually, in the end, we both decided we quite liked those roles. And it works. Is that...
100%. I mean, I didn't know, I didn't have a label for it. It wasn't like I met Rob and was like, I'm here to rescue you. You know, like, here I am. And it was just, you know, going back to the soulmates thing, this is my person. I'm going to protect him at all costs. There wasn't a conscious choice of, I'm the savior, he's the person I'm going to save. It just was an organic evolution of our relationship, and we're definitely codependent. You know, I didn't really know it
until somebody
I'm
told
happily
me.
codependent.
Like,
I know it can be
happily codependent.
I know that sounds weird, and codependent isn't supposed to be an okay thing, and in toxic situations, it's a very dangerous thing. But I actually really enjoy being Rob's person, and you know, and he's my person, and we're in the fold together.
But this will resonate with so many people, and not necessarily with addiction. Just any carer of any type watching the show right now will understand that sort of role, because you love this person, you want to do the best for them. But then sometimes you need to be looked after. The carer or the rescuer, they need a bit of help and love,
like that,
and it's basically what I was about to say. Do you almost struggle with that? You don't want to admit that you
I
have
struggle
moments.
with well, I mean, this sounds like a therapy session, but I definitely am like, you know, I'm like, but there's no one to help me, you know, like just crying, you know, it can be difficult because when you're you know, I think especially with women, we can feel like that with our kids, not just your partner, you know, it's like, I'm all about my children, I'm there, you know, I will put myself last on the list, not because I'm so amazing, it's just naturally what I do. I want everyone to be happy, I'm a people pleaser, I'm a, you know, that's my safe space. But sometimes, it's exhausting. Sometimes you do want someone to scoop you up. I look at my dog Poupette and I'm like, it's your turn. You know, and she's like, you know.
Got 8 of them.
I've got 8 of them. That's why I need a lot of help.
I'm so grateful for the fact that, you know, my ex-husband, Tim, the boy's dad, was so brilliant with my mental illness and addictions. Obviously, Lincoln and I are, I think, codependent. I used to go, but I'm financially independent. I go, you're thinking it was a real weakness, and I didn't really understand the meaning of it. But I think watching Robbie on there is just, it's really that word triggering. And, you know, Twitter will go, she's talking about herself. But as somebody who has done performances on stage in front of people in abject anxiety, which is not nerves, or with episodes of depression and got through. And I always talk about my depression as a separate entity. So once I've got through it, I have to say, do you see? I did it with you, so I can damn well do it without you, and also, you know, treat it like a separate entity. But watching Matty, just because I've never played to that many people, watching my son, when everyone says you're watching him play to 20,000 people and they say, oh, you must be so proud. Of course I'm proud of, you know, both my boys, all my boys. But all I'm thinking is he okay? Because he has a tendency to the dark side as well. And all I'm looking in his eyes as much as I can see to see if he's doing okay. Because everybody everybody, you don't want to let people down. So everybody, as Robbie Williams comes up, as Matty, you know, comes up on whatever height, you know, they come onto the stage,
crane, the lights.
everyone's screaming and they're so happy and they think that you're so happy because you're in that position.
I think anyone could kind of relate to that loves somebody that struggles. It could be somebody having to go out to work
Just
in an
going to
office
work
today
is a
and they've got
massive thing.
anxiety or depression.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it is tiring for the other person. It can be because you do have to often put yourself second, but it's also can be very rewarding as well. You know, if you really have met your person like you do, it's a beautiful thing to pass it back and forth, even though it can be tough.
Yeah. And I think it's also a real measure of the person, isn't it? It's the measure of yourselves, having the strength. And like you say, you get a lot back, but equally so you are giving a lot. But it can work, is the answer to it. But it can be tough, and sometimes you just do need a moment to yourself. And I think that.
And you need your friends.
And you need your friends. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course you do. Of course you do. And thank you, Ida. You've been very honest today. I know we've really thrown you in, haven't you? Sorry
It's
about
like we've
that.
gone right into it.
We have, you know.
Why
not? There's always help and places to turn to on our website, itv.com/helplines. Coming up next, telling us why he's always felt like the underdog and revealing the secrets to his relationships on and off screen. Dermot O'Leary is here right after. Talking parenting, relationships and telly secrets. Dermot O'Leary will be here. It's going to be fast, I promise. First though, talking of nerve-wracking moments, to celebrate Ida being here with us today, we thought we'd take a trip back to 2017 when we paid homage to Ida's American soap past.
I didn't know this. I didn't know about you. It sounds like porn.
It was the first and indeed the last ever edition of our own Loose Women's soap, Days of Our Loose Lives.
A love letter to Joe, signed by A. But who is A? Who is she?
I've just seen a text on Frank's phone from someone called A.
Who is she? You're A, Ida.
Oh, you've been texting my Frank.
Look at you with your perfect American accent and your silky hair.
Don't you dare accuse me, Stacy. And my Robbie's a Port Vale supporter.
And I've slept with Frank, Joe, and Robbie.
I banned it.
I think I pushed that to the back of my mind.
It's hilarious.
It did make me giggle.
It did make me. I remember.
We had a laugh.
Oh, we did.
Competition time now. It's your chance to have the ultimate summer blowout. You could win £10,000 every month for 6 months. Jeff. Very good. Jeff has all the details.
How do you fancy having an unforgettable summer of fun? Well, look no further, as you could win a fabulous £10,000 cash bonus every single month for 6 months. That's 6 months of luxurious living with £10,000 hitting your bank account every month. But what would you spend that monthly bonus on?
So I'm actually getting married next May, so if I had 10 grand a month for 6 months, I'd have the biggest wedding ever and invite all my family and friends.
If I was to win 10 grand a month for 6 months, I'd definitely put it all towards a new sports car.
You really can spend all that tax-free cash however you like. Whatever you choose to splash the cash on, just know the choice is all yours. So that's £60,000 in tax-free cash paid to you every single month for the next 6 months in 10 grand instalments. And all you have to do is enter right now. Text WIN to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY17 PO Box 7558 Derby DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday 17th of May at 3 p.m. Good luck.
Oh.
Good luck with that.
There's
Time
another
for
one.
today's guest now, and Ida's just chatting away now.
Anyway,
It's just the way it is.
These two are passing notes to each other.
Will we get our guest out? Shall we do that? Yeah. He's usually clocked off by now, but he's swapping this morning. So fun. He's just hanging out with the panel instead. Please welcome Dermot O'Leary.
Oh, it's a whole different scenario when you're on the show.
I wanted them to ask you to dance on and
Well, they did, and I said no.
Did you say no?
No, but then I thought, oh, I will. And then they put Rock DJ on, and then but they put it on too late. So I've sort of started dancing, and then realised there wasn't any music. So, now I'm just liking it. There you go.
I actually love your dancing.
I
but
do.
You're lucky your son's only 3.
It's a nonsense.
Because once your children grow up, you are never allowed to dance again, no matter what your moves are.
Where's that place
They
that
ban
you
it.
dance that you
He
do?
tells me like he's 3.5, and he goes, "No, Daddy."
Where's that place, Dermot?
Well, that's actually that's the Maida Vale for Radio 2. So we've now moved into our lovely new studios. But that's basically the radio equivalent of Slow Horses. If anyone wants to know, it's just there's like 2 guys on reception and then just bunkers everywhere, and that's where I've been for the last couple of months.
That's what you have to
People
do.
keep going, why are you doing it next to a radiator and a recycling machine?
I just thought that's an odd kitchen.
It is
Not quite a kitchen, yes, exactly. Right, your book, Dermot. Your 6th children's book. I do love this because it combines your love clearly of writing, but also your love of history.
Yeah.
And that's why this kind of was a bit of a passion
Well,
project.
so I've done 5 books about my cat who's blind, and I've
You've done Toto.
unbeknownst
Toto.
Toto,
Yeah,
Toto
the ninja cat.
So unbeknownst, there she is. And so
Oh,
I know she's
Toto.
incredible,
Oh, my
isn't she?
God.
And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this, but it turns out she is actually a member of an ancient order of international ninja cats working for Larry the Ten Days. True story.
Okay.
And then my publisher said, any other ideas? And I was like, I really love my history, and I love writing for Prism of Animals. So my starting point was, what would it be like if, in the Second World War, animals were actually fighting on our behalf? And I was like, OK, so where do I go? So my favourite part of history is the Battle of Britain. So who would be fighting in the Battle of Britain? Be the birds. So that's my starting point. And I thought, I've got a bird called Linus who signs up to be in the RBF, the Royal Bird Force.
I like it. I like that you adjusted it for
Right,
Yeah.
who comes over and they basically, all he wants to do is fly with the Peregrine Falcons because they're the fastest, but they won't have him because they're kind of blue bloods, and so he ends up in this kind of misfit squadron of a magpie who thieves everything, an owl who won't get out of bed before 9 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, that's the one I'm married to.
Well, Robert, yeah, and he ends up sort of changing the face of the war.
What bird is it?
Is a swift.
Oh. Now,
are the
Swift
most
is very
beautiful
popular
birds.
at the moment. Taylor Swift's got a new album out. Have you heard it, Denise?
I wasn't aware she had an album out at all. I haven't heard anything about it.
Why? This is a really nice chat. It's now gone really awkward. No,
We'll get back to it.
I'm literally in the middle of it.
Anyway, I wish her all the best.
Aside of that, though, we were chatting about men.
I love that loose women. It's just so, just like you just go from there and think, oh, she's nice, and then suddenly, oh my God, we're like absolutely just like shut the kitchen sink.
We'll tell you later. But what is it about men and history?
I don't know if I've met some really brilliant female historians, but you are right.
Do you want to ask Dermot the question that you said?
Oh, yeah. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Never.
Oh, come on.
See?
Well, I mean, now a lot, because you're asking me. But the Second World War has always been my sweet spot, but largely because it's in living memory. And because my family are Irish, we weren't part of it. So there's always... So it's a little bit remote for me as well. But I grew up in Colchester. I don't know if anyone knows that part of the world.
Yeah.
But we have... So obviously, it's the Battle of Britain was very close to there, but also all these old American air bases from the Second War. I don't know if you guys have seen Masters of the Air.
No. My grandfather fought in the Second World War, but he was out in the Pacific.
Yeah.
So
which is an incredible... They made an incredible... Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks.
Exactly.
They did an incredible series. And then the last series is called Masters of the Air, which is kind of based around kind of where I grew up. And when I grew up, sort of the 80s was only 40 years after, so that's kind of really in living memory. So you used to know quite a lot of the guys that would work on the bases, and those American air bases, a lot of them are still there, so you go for open days. So it was always that kind of part of history, always.
It was like permeating.
Yeah. And then I remember when Band of Brothers came out, I was about 30.
Oh, that was great.
And I remember thinking, God, that's 30 years ago, and 30 years before that was the middle of the war.
Yeah.
So, and then you always sort of just go, what would have happened to you? What would you have done? Where would you have been, you know? So...
And there's lots of elements of that in the book, really, isn't there?
Yeah.
You are drawing a lot of those
What is
points.
the age? What age is it?
I reckon I'd go, if you're an advanced reader, 7 to about 11, I think.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
wow.
it's a good age. A lot of friendship in the book as well, which, again, I'm sure you're pulling from real life. And we were just talking about the April Fool's prank with Alison.
Oh, my God, that's
which
great.
Tell you what.
We were sitting here watching it, and I thought... Firstly, you played a blinder.
Thank
You were very
She was incredible.
She was fabulous.
But let me tell you, so the backstory of this is on the Friday, they went, listen, because Alison had been away filming for a couple of weeks, and they said, we want to do an April Fool's prank on our, I think it was a Monday. And they said, well, you're going to drop it. And I went, she's never going to fall for it if I just pick up a vase and drop it. So I said, we're going to have to orchestrate it that I can knock it over. So all weekend I'm thinking about how we do this. And we get there on Monday, and I don't know how, she walks in to makeup and she says, we can do April Fool's today. And everyone just goes, no, we're not going to do it. So I went up early, and we had all this, so she couldn't see it, and the lady was like purely in character. And we had Dan Hatfield, who's like our antiques expert, down the line, literally in Austin. He was at an antiques fair. But everyone's like starts piling it on. So Dan starts going, this is amazing. There's only 2 in the world. The other one's in the Guggenheim. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the lady's so good, but every time I get close to it, she's like, please step back. And I'm looking at her going, I have to get close to it so I can knock it over. And then in my ear, they're going, you've only got a minute left, you've got to do it now. It's so stressful. And my wife's a drama director, Dee, yeah? And so and during the weekend, we were talking about it, and she just said to me, if you look like you're going to crack, just put your hand over your mouth. And I'm like, that's the best thing ever. I spent my life just doing that. The woman was so good. So then when I sort of accidentally turned...
You did, Dermot, you'll understand. They're telling me to shoosh in my ear.
Oh, no.
Wings of Glory, it's a beautiful book. It's
Thank
so
you,
much
guys.
fun.
Really
It's out
appreciate
now.
it.
Thanks so much,
I
Dermot.
don't have enough time!
Thank you for your company. Journalist Jenny Boyne joins us tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.